So I'll go over the installation of Cassandra. So to install Cassandra on Windows, you'll need to first install Java 8 on the official Oracle download page. And after that, there will be a series of steps from the wizard setup. So to go to the Java 8 download on the Oracle page, obviously you'll need to go to type in Java 8 download. And after that, you'll be able to find this easily. And then right here, you can click this. And then after doing that, you'll be able to follow the wizard setup. And then after downloading Java for Windows, you also need to install Python 2.7. So you can go ahead and type in that. And then after that, you just need to download a tarball. And then after installing that, you can just unzip that file and then follow the series of steps from the wizard setup. So then after that, you'll also need to obviously install Apache Cassandra. So you can go ahead and install or Apache Cassandra download. And then after that, you'll need to install this, the latest stable version released on July 28th, which is 3.11.11. And then there'll also be a series of steps from the wizard setup, and that should be quite simple also. So if you're using a Mac, you'll need to install Homebrew. So you can just click this right here, and this will take you to the Homebrew download page. So brew.shell right here. So to install Homebrew, you'll need to copy this command line right here, and then open up terminal, and then paste that command line into here, and then install that. But if you already have it installed and you're using a Mac, then you'll need to update it by using brew update. And in this case, you already have it updated, but you'll need to update it by running this command before installing Cassandra. So after installing Cassandra on Homebrew, you also need to check to see if you have the latest version of Python. And you can check that by typing python -s version. And I have the latest version, which is 3.7.11. So I already have that installed. But if you already don't have it installed, then you can run this command by saying brew install python, and then you'll have that installed after. So after having these two installed, you also need to install the Cassandra query language shell, and you can do that by typing pip install cql, and then after that you'll have the language shell to run all your commands. So now after going over the installation of Cassandra, I'll also go over data manipulation language. So first I'll go into insert. So obviously this inserts data into a row, and at least one row must be specified since it's a primary key. And if the row is created, or if a row isn't created before, then it will be created after, which is not similar to SQL. But obviously you'll have to create a key base, which is similar to a database in MySQL, and then you'll need to create a table before using insert, obviously. So here's an example, simple example of inserting data into a table, but I'll also show you another example. So for example, let's say we can insert into, let's say, a movie, for example. And then we can enter, say, the movie name, the director of the name, the main actor, and the year. And then after that, we'll need to insert the values for each individual column. So let's say the movie is Star Wars, and then let's say the director is J.J. Abrams. And let's say, for example, the main actor is, say, Harrison Ford. And then the year of the movie that was created, so let's say 2015. And then after that, you will be able to run the insert command, and everything will be inserted into the table. So after going over insert, we can talk about update. So obviously, updates existing data. So it's also able to update one or more columns, and unlike SQL, it creates a row if it didn't exist before. So I'll show you another example of how update works. So let's use the same example. We can say update movies, and then we can set the director name to be, let's say, J.J. Abrams, like before. And then the main actor, let's use the same example, Harrison Ford. And then the year of the movie, let's say 2015, like before. And then we can say where the current movie is, where movie, and then the movie Star Wars. So that'll update all the information, the director, main actor, and year, all into the movie. The same column as the movie. Okay, so after that, I'll also talk about, or go on to my next slide, which is delete. So obviously, deletes existing data from a table. And if no column names are provided, then every column name would be deleted in the table, or every column would be deleted in the table. So the where specifies which rows would be deleted, and a delete operation can be conditional through the use of an if clause, similar to update and insert statements. So here's an example that I provided in the slide, and also I'll also show you another example. So let's say we want to delete something from a table. We can go ahead and say delete from movies, or from movie using, say we use a timestamp from the movie. So just say like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Where movie is Star Wars. And this would delete the timestamp from the movie that's in Star Wars. So this is pretty simple, similar to MySQL, the delete statement. And then finally, I'll go over batch. So lastly, batch is pretty much a combination of all the data manipulation language statements I went over, including insert, update, and delete. So using this saves network round trips between the client and server, so it's pretty common to use batch. And all updates in a batch belonging to a partition key is also performed in isolation. So I'll also provide an example of batch statement. So for example, we can begin a batch, and then we can insert into, let's say, users, for example. And we can say like the user ID, password, name, and then the values into each of those fields. So we can say that user ID is user1, and then the password is whatever, and then the name of the user, say Bob. And then after that, we also need to include update, insert, and delete statements. So we can update the users into, or we can update users, and then we set the password. So we can say it's whatever, and then where the user ID is, say it's Steve. And then after that, we can also insert, or we need to insert, since we're using batch, into users, and then the user ID, the password, where the values are. Say user ID is user2, and then the password, and then finally we need to delete. So we say delete name from users, where the user ID is equal to user3. And then after doing all that, we will need to apply the batch, which will complete the DML statement. So after that, that'll modify all these statements into a single statement, which is easier or used commonly throughout Cassandra. Oops. So that's it for the data manipulation language.